since then has been immeasurable.
You know, when he gets an honor, it's the University of Tennessee. And I think it increases your academic applications because of Peyton Manning. The same is true with Pat.
And alumni feel the same way.
He's just so easy to root for. He is so great about coming back to campus to enrich the lives of our students and faculty. He's very generous with his time and support to the College of Communications and Information, to the athletic department.
That's not just talk either. Manning's established a scholarship for UT students. He's given $500,000 to the Pat Summitt Alzheimer's Foundation. He's even put together a golf tournament with East Tennessee Children's Hospital.
And he was raised in a family that was committed to the community and saw the need. They've been very blessed, and it's their responsibility to give back. And so I see that in Peyton.
A man who's a volunteer in every sense of the word.
All right, and Carmen Tagano, has been at University of Tennessee for a long time, joins us now to talk a little bit more about the community impact and kind of put it in perspective. Carmen, thanks for coming in.
Well, I appreciate you asking me.
I got to ask you first, the night or the wee hours of the morning of when Peyton said he was staying, you get a phone call.
Yeah, the phone rings, and it was about 1:30 in the morning. And I looked at it, and I saw someone's name on there. I said, geez, I wonder why they're calling me. And I pick up the phone. Carmen. He's whispering, this is Peyton. I said, are you okay? He said, yeah, I'm staying. I said, well, I knew that. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. You're calling me to tell me. I knew you were staying. And he was barely whispering. I could barely hear him. And he said, well, I want you to be there tomorrow. I said, well, I plan to be there tomorrow. He said, okay. So the next day, I saw Doug Dickey. I'll never forget it. I saw Doug Dickey in the parking lot. And Doug said, what do you think? What do you think? And before I could answer, you knew Doug Dickey.
Yeah, right.
He answered his questions. and before I could answer, Doug said, I don't think he's staying. I don't think he's staying. First pick of the draft, I don't think he's staying. I said, Coach, I'll bet you $25 he's staying. And Doug said, that'll be the easiest $25 I ever get. I never told funny. Doug to this day that I knew.
Oh, that's
and
good.
He paid me $25 in quarters.
Right, that is good. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Manning's impact on not just Knoxville, but Indianapolis and Denver. Can you even put a dollar figure on what he's done?
Well, let me back up to when he came here. Listening to Philip and Bob and Max talk about that, his experience here, reminded me, he came on his visit in January of 1994, and it was Martin Luther King weekend, and a blizzard hit. And I was supposed to go in and meet with he and Archie that either Sunday or Monday morning, but I couldn't get out of my driveway. So David Cutcliffe called me, and he said, you have to come in. I said, David, there's a blizzard. I can't get out of my driveway because I'm on a steep hill.
Yeah.
He said, we'll send someone. Anyway, bottom line is, he picked me up, David was in the car, and he looked at me and he said, this young man has a baseline. Every kid that comes to school as a freshman has a baseline. He said, this kid's baseline is above everyone else's. He said, I want you to sit down and talk to he and his father. And that was the first time I met him. And one of the things that David and Philip incorporated when they were here as coaches was the importance of community service, giving back to the community.
Yeah.
And there was a local businessman here that believes you got to pay rent if you live in a great place. And Peyton believed in that. And so did David and so did Philip. And when he came as a freshman, he understood the importance of giving back. And I recall he and T. Martin spent a lot of time in the community, Beaumont Elementary School, Spring Hill, Quisenberry. They went out probably once or twice a month. And you don't have to do that.
Right.
And they did that. And I can remember one time, the secretary walked in my office. I remember like it was yesterday. Walked in my office, closed the door and said, Peyton's on the phone. Said it's an emergency. I said, wow, I wonder what's wrong. I picked the phone up, Russ, and he said, Carmen, I'm on my way to Beaumont and I ran out of gas. What can I do? And he was so bent on being there on time. So we had to send someone to pick him up and take him to Beaumont, which is probably a violation today. Anyway, that's the kind of kid he was. But you got to remember this about him. He was raised in that environment where the community mattered. And when he got here, he carried that behavior and that feeling over to Indianapolis. And that's where he developed the Payback Foundation. And maybe about 2000 until now, he has donated, let's think, that's 12, 13 years. The Boys and Girls Club has an event every Christmas where he gives out $25,000 to $30,000 worth of equipment. Then he gives about $25,000 or $30,000 worth of gas cards to parents of schools that are needy, okay? You add that together over 10 years, not to forget that he's given out of his pocket over $2.5 million to the university. He's given a lot back to this community.
Yeah.
And you have to remember this. Nowhere in his job description is that required. If you're a professional athlete, it's not a requirement.
Right.
It's something you want to do. And he's done it.
Good
and
stuff.
Think about this. Okay, I want to leave you with this one thing that's really important to understand about Peyton Manning. When you're the first pick of the draft, you're the first person drafted, a lot's expected of you. When you're the National High School Player of the Year, a lot's expected of you. He came here, had a great career, decided to stay an extra year, won an SEC championship, went off as the first pick of the draft, and I would wager, someone will look it up I'm sure, I would wager that no first person drafted has played more Pro Bowls than Peyton Manning. Okay, went up there, had a great decade or more in Indianapolis. Then he left with a Super Bowl and a lot of records. Went to Denver, had surgery in between, major surgery. Went to Denver. They made the playoffs. Now they're in the Super Bowl. The one thing you have to remember about Peyton Manning, the main thing, he answers the bell. Whatever is expected of him, he answers the bell. He goes to the corner, he sits in the stool, he analyzes, and he gets up and he goes to the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
That's what makes him special.
Always good seeing you, Carmen. Appreciate you coming in. All right, we'll be back right after this.
It wouldn't be complete without a word from the man himself. And we'll look at East Tennessee's love affair with all things Manning.